We begin today the Gemara on Daf Mem Beis Amud Beis, where it says Umeidin Zeh Lazeh. Okay, so the Gemara here brought before what was said. Shmuel said that when you have partners in a property, so they can testify one for another. If you have someone that's coming and challenging his ownership of one of the partners, so the other partner can be an aid, can testify together with Eidim on behalf of his partner. So umeidin zeh lazeh, one testifies for the other. Frek the Gemara, amai. Why is that? How could one testify for the other? Neugin be'edusanhein. Each one is saying the eidos, and he's not impartial. It's something that's relevant for him. He's saying eidos, helping himself. If you're still a partner in this property, and someone else is coming to challenge the ownership of this property, he's not just challenging your partner's ownership, he's challenging your ownership as well, your partner's. So how could you come and testify against that person that wants to take it away? The Lashon of the Gemara, the Rishonim point out, Neugin be'edusan, is not really meduyik at this stage of the Gemara. It should have said more. You're saying this on behalf of yourself. You are bald over. He's trying to take it away from you as much as he's trying to take it away from your partner. Gemara uses the term Neugin be'edusan, connected to the continuation of the Gemara. Even after the Gemara answers, there will still be a negia, that's something that is you could gain out of this. Right. So the Gemara uses that expression. So the first point the Gemara says is Hacha b'may eskinon. What's the case that it's saying here that one partner can testify for the other? The kasav lei, when one writes to his partner, din udvarim einli asadazu. I have no legal connection anymore. I have no ownership in this field anymore. He's giving away his part of the partnership. So then he can testify on behalf of his partner. He has no ownership here anymore. So he's not a negay. He's not a bal davar. He's not negay b'davar. The Gemara asks on that this expression of saying din udvarim mainly v'chikasav loy may have it. If you write to your partner this expression that I have no din, I have no legal ownership and no rights here in this property anymore, that doesn't work. V'atanya, in a brayso we learn, a person says to his friend, din udvarim mainly al sadazu, I have no legal connection to this field anymore. Mainly asik ba, I have no involvement with it. V'yadim usulekes emena, or he says my hands are removed from here. Lo yamaklum. All these statements is not saying anything. The Rashbam explains the reason why it's not saying anything is because it's basically a language that sounds more like a wish or like a tefillah. He's saying that I should not have any connection. He did not actually sell his part, give away his part to his partner. He's using an expression saying that I don't want to have any connection. So using this kind of expression doesn't accomplish anything. So here as well, just like by saying din udvarim mainly al sadazu, what did you accomplish by this? So the Gemara answers, Hacha b'may eskinon, the case here is that he didn't only say that, but then kishikonu miyadai, he made a kinyan. There was a kinyan that's usually used is, as the Rashbam says, a kinyan sudar. You take a handkerchief, the buyer gives the seller a handkerchief, and in exchange he buys this property. So over here as well, the partner gave him a handkerchief and they made a kinyan, and therefore he's now removed of having any partnership in this field, so he can come and testify. The Rashbam points out that the whole discussion in the Gemara here about the din udvarim is really extra. The Gemara could have just made it very simple, that the reason he can testify for his partner is because he sold his part, and he's not a partner anymore. The Gemara brings this lashon of din udvarim and asks that this lashon is not going to work, and then the Gemara says that he made a kinyan. So the Gemara here wants to say a chiddush that even this lashon of din udvarim, when you make a kinyan, it works. But really, the point of the Gemara's answer is very simple. When Shmuel said that a partner is testifying for his partner against someone else, it's because he's not a partner anymore. He sold off his chaylik. But the Gemara asks on that, v'chikanu miyadai may have it. If you make this kinyan and now you're not a partner anymore, why should that matter? Still, you're gaining by testifying to keep the property by your partner. Because harei ma'amida b'fnei b'chayvai. By doing that, you now make this property available for someone that you owe money to be able to collect from here. You were the owner of this property, and you borrowed money, that is. So you owe someone money, and now there's a shibud, there's a lien on this property. So even after you sell it off to your partner, but now if your b'chayv comes along, he has the ability to come and collect from this property. But that's only if it's going to be in the possession of your partner. Someone else, though, that's challenging the ownership, someone else that wants to take it away, if that person is going to succeed in taking it away, then your Bal Chayv can't come and collect from here. So you still gain by testifying for your partner so that it should be available for your Bal Chayv to come and collect from here. Rav Bar Shmuel says in the name of Shmuel, if you sell a property to your friend and you made it clear that you're not taking any responsibility if it gets confiscated. So you would think that now, once you sold it and you're not taking any responsibility for what happens to it, so you're not anymore in the Geba Davar, so you should be able to testify regarding this property. But it doesn't work that way. You cannot testify for this property if someone else is challenging the ownership and wants to take it away from the buyer. Because by you testifying, even though you're not gaining in the sense that if it gets confiscated, it'll be your responsibility to reimburse him, because you made it clear that you're not taking responsibility for that, but you're gaining in a different way. By it remaining in the possession of the buyer, your Bal Chayv that has a lien on this property cannot come and collect from there. If someone takes it away, then your Bal Chayv cannot come and collect from here. So in our case as well, you're still gaining by testifying on behalf of your previous partner, because now your Bal Chayv can come and collect from here. So you're still in a Negei Beidus. So here, the Lashon Negei Beidus is the right Lashon. You're not a Baal Dover anymore. It's not yours. You gave it away, but you're Negei Beidus. You're gaining by now putting it in a position where your Bal Chayv can collect from here. And says the Gemara, Hacha b'mayaskinon. The case here is the Kabul Alei Achrayis, that he takes responsibility upon himself. And the Gemara explains right away what it means when it's answering that he takes responsibility upon himself. Achrayis taman. What responsibility did he take upon himself? If the case here is that when this partner sold off his part to his partner, that he took responsibility that if anybody else comes and challenges the ownership of this property, I'm going to reimburse you. So obviously that's not what we mean, because kol sheken denichale. Definitely he wants to testify for his partner that this person shouldn't take it away because he took responsibility, that he's going to reimburse him. So that's not what we mean. So Ella, what the answer here is, achrayis the asile machmase, that he took responsibility that if a Bal Chayv is going to come and try to collect from this property and is going to confiscate it from you, I'm going to reimburse you if my Bal Chayv comes and takes it away. So if that's the case, it comes out that he's not a Negei Beidus anymore, because either way, this person is going to be stuck over here. That there's somebody that he's not going to end up paying. If the Bal Chayv comes and takes it away, so then the person that bought the karka, the shutif that bought the karka here, he owes him money now. He has to reimburse him. If the Bal Chayv can't come and collect it, why? Because someone took it away from the shutif, so now he owes money to his Bal Chayv. He still has to pay his Bal Chayv. Either way, he's in a position that he's going to have to owe somebody money, either his Bal Chayv, or if the Bal Chayv is able to take away this property from the shutif, he's going to owe money to the shutif. So what does he gain by testifying on behalf of the shutif that the property should stay by the shutif, and now the Bal Chayv could take it away from him? He's going to have to reimburse the shutif the moment the Bal Chayv takes it away. He's not gaining anything by this. So in such a case, the Rashbam uses the lashon that says by a person that owes someone money and doesn't pay, lo rasha v'lo yishalem. That if you owe and you don't pay, you call it rasha. So in our case, either he's going to be a lo rasha v'lo yishalem because he won't have a source for his Bal Chayv to collect the money from, or he'll be a lo rasha v'lo yishalem because the Bal Chayv will confiscate it from the partner that bought it, and now he won't have what to pay to the partner. So is he gaining by testifying to keep it in the hands of the partner that he sold it to? No. So in such a case, when he sold his portion to his partner, and it's in such an oifen that he took responsibility to reimburse him if a Bal Chayv takes it away from him, so then he's not a Negei Beidus. If he testifies from him, he's not gaining anything in this. And that was the case that Shmuel said that he can testify for his partner. But the Gemara still goes on and asks, that is, even if he removes himself from this property, as we just explained. So at this point, he's not a Negei Beidus at all, but mi mistalik. Is this accepted? Could we say that he has no connection to this property anymore and he's not a Negei Beidus and he could testify? But for Tanya, in a Braisa we learned, in a case of B'nai Ir Shenigna Sefer Torah Shalahem, people of a city, a Sefer Torah from the city was stolen. Now, this person that stole the Sefer Torah is arguing and claiming that the Sefer Torah is his and he paid for it, it belongs to him, and there's a din Torah here, whether he has to return it to the people of the city or not. So, Ein Donin B'Dayani Yisir here, the din Torah cannot take place with the judges, with the dayanim of this city, and also and you can't bring proof. Anybody from this city should come and testify about the story of this Sefer Torah, who it belongs to. Why? Because the dayanim of the city and the people of the city, they're only gay bedas. A dayan can't sit on a din Torah where it's something that's relevant to him, and an aid can't be say edus if he's negay bedas. So they want their Sefer Torah back for themselves because they're part of the people of the city. But the question is, why is the Braisa saying this? If what we said before about partners, that you sell off your part, and in such a way that you take responsibility if the Baal Chayv comes and will want to collect, and then you have no gain in this, and then you can come and testify. So let's say the same thing here. L'salku betrei minayu v'ledainu. So let two people of the city say that we are removing ourselves, whatever ownership, whatever partnership we have in the Sefer Torah of the city, we remove ourselves from this, and then they can be judges. They can say eidos, and they can be judges. The Gemara uses the lashon ledainu, but most Rishonim say that it's whether to be judges or whether to say eidos, because now they can remove themselves. So the Rashbam explains, what is the Gemara trying to prove from this? What the Gemara is proving is that even after a person does such a thing, you remove yourself, but we're afraid that this is really just a kanunya. It's just you're doing this just for the purpose to be able to testify. Mm-hmm. Afterwards, and when your edus will be accepted, you'll buy back your partnership, and really you're going to continue being a partner. And over here as well with the Sefer Torah, you can't just be masalik yourself in order to be a dayan or to say this. You're going to buy back your part afterwards. So you really still are a negei edus. So the Gemara says, no, this is not a raya from the case of the Sefer Torah. Why? Shani Sefer Torah, by the case of a Sefer Torah that belongs to everybody in the city, it's different. The Lishmiya Koi, that you have to hear Kriyas HaTorah from the Sefer Torah. So how could you separate yourself from the Sefer Torah? How could you say that I have no partnership in the Sefer Torah anymore if you have to have Hana from the Sefer Torah, and here someone stole the Sefer Torah, is not allowing people to listen to Kriyas HaTorah? So if you're testifying, it's something that's negated to you because you need to hear Kriyas HaTorah. That's why by Sefer Torah it doesn't help to say that I don't have any connection to it. But regarding a property, over here, like we said before, you could sell off your part, and then you're not in a gei beidus anymore. Gemara brings another few braises where you see a similar point. Tashema ha'omer, a person before he passes away, and he says, Tnu mana lebnei iri, give a mana to the people of my city. And now the question is whether we can go and collect that money from the Yarshim. The Yarshim are not ready to give this money, and there's a din Torah whether they have to give money to the people of the city. So again, aim danim b'dayani yisir ve'im mevin rai mancha yisir. You can't use judges of that city. You can't bring people from the city to be eidos about what this person said to be able to collect the money, because they're in a gay eidos. They want to take the money that will be for themselves. But why not? Let two of them remove themselves and be able to be a dayan or an aid on this. If they say that we're not getting anything from this. And since the Gemara Hachanami, in that Braisa as well, we'll have to say that the case is b'Sefer Torah, that this person says, give a mana towards a Sefer Torah. And a Sefer Torah is something that you can't remove yourself from, because that's something that's used by everybody. In the Gemara here, it says the example of a Sefer Torah, and in the Rashbam it's mashma that the example of Sefer Torah is dafka. It's something that you have to listen, hear Kriyas HaTorah. But in other Rishainim and Paiskim, it's mashma that the Sefer Torah, the Gemara is saying here, is lav dafka. It's just an example. It's any other public thing in the city that everybody has to use that you can't be masalik yourself from, like the roads and other things that belong to the public that you can't say, I have nothing to do with this. It's a place that everybody uses. It's things that everybody has to have a connection to one way or another, and you can't remove yourself from it. Tashama, a third braisa, person said, give, before he passes away, he says, you should give a mana to the poor people of my city. So the judges that will force the Yarshim to give that money for the poor people cannot be judges of that city and cannot be aided from that city to testify about what he said either. So the question is, before the Gemara comes to discuss what we're discussing here, the Gemara first clarifies, what does this mean? Why can't any judges of the city or people of the city testify about this? The Tizbira, does this make sense? Aniyim Shakli, the person says, give money to the poor people of the city, they're taking, and Dayanim Efsili, and the judges that are not the poor people, they should become puzzle of being Dayanim. Before we're talking about something that's for all the people of the city, but now we're talking he says, give it to poor people. So why can't the Dayanim or anybody else that's not from the poor people of the city testify about this? So Ella, Eime, what we have to say, the pshat in this braisa is, ein donen b'dayane aniya yoisei yahir. That it's saying that the poor people of that city, they can't be a judge or to be a eidos on this money that should be given to them, because they're saying eidos for themselves. And also they can't be eidos for themselves. But the question is, why not? Let two of them remove themselves and give a money and say that, okay, we don't have anything to do with this portion of what's being given to us. And then they could be a judge on this. Regarding this case as well, we have to say that the person said that you should give a money towards a sefer Torah for the poor people of the city. So therefore, a sefer Torah you can never remove yourself from. If we're saying that it's a sefer Torah, it's not just for the poor people of the city. One understands the sefer Torah. He says give a money towards the sefer Torah. So why is the Braisa saying poor people? So the pshat of the Braisa is not a sefer Torah just for the poor people. What it means is that everybody regarding the Sefer Torah and having a Sefer Torah and listening to the Kriya of the Sefer Torah is called aniyim, meaning this is something that everybody needs. And therefore, when the Lashon of the Braisa that he says, give for the poor people, he meant give a money which is something for a cause that everybody needs. What's that cause that everybody needs? To have a Sefer Torah, to be able to read from it. That's the pshat in this Braisa. Another pshat the Gemara says in this Braisa, Viba Yisayme, Lo'ilam Kediktani, Aniyim Mamish. We could read this Braisa literally, that here's a person that said, give money for poor people of the city. So why is it saying that the judges or other people from the city can't testify if it's supposed to go to the poor people? They're impartial. What does that have to do with them? The answer is, it's because these are poor people of the city that it's everybody else's responsibility to support them. So by the poor people getting their money, it alleviates everybody else from the city from their responsibility. So therefore they're also negei be'edos to collect that money for these poor people. This responsibility that everybody else has to support the poor people of the city, what's the case here? If there's a certain set amount of how much the aniyim are supported by, so let two people give their portion, their set amount that they usually have to give for the poor people, and once they give already their amount, and now they already gave their set amount that they give for the poor people, and now this money that they're trying to get from this person that said to give for the poor people, let them not collect that money. If two people already gave their set amount that they're supposed to give to support the poor people, so they're not on the Gei Beidus anymore. Answers the Gemara, two answers. Either there is no set amount that we give for the poor people that lies upon every person to give. It's not a set amount. It's you give according to the needs of the poor people. So you can't say let them give their set amount. It's going to be dependent on what the needs of the poor people are. So if you give them this extra $100, so then the needs of the poor people will be less, and therefore other people in the city that it's their responsibility to support them will gain by this. So they can't testify for them. Or another pshat, even if there is a set amount that everybody supports the poor people, but nevertheless, you're still gaining by the fact that these poor people get this extra $100, the kivin de ravach, because if they have extra money, so then the poor people are not going to come to collect that set amount that they usually take from you, because they have already money. Once they have, you're going to gain by it, that you won't have to support them. Okay, so this is the conclusion of this Gemara here about Negei Be'edus, that the Gemara's conclusion is that you could be Masalik yourself, Din Dvara mainly. It's only by a Sefer Torah, because it's something that everyone has a know from, everybody needs, that's something that you can't separate yourself from it. Now the Gemara goes to the next thing that Shmuel said regarding partners. V'nasin shemrei sochar ze lozeh. When you have partners that own things together, so they become a shemrei sochar for one another. Meaning, let's say they own whatever items they own together. So when one has it in his possession, so then it's his responsibility to guard it, to take care of it. And if it gets stolen from him, it's going to be his responsibility to reimburse his partner for what happened, for the Geneva and the Aveda. And he's called a Shem Esachar because Shem Esachar means you're getting paid, you're gaining when you're guarding. Because when your partner guards it, so then he guards it for you as well, that if it gets stolen from him, he'll be responsible. So each one is gaining by the fact that when each partner uses it, when it's in his possession, he's going to be guarding it for himself and for his partner. So therefore, you're responsible not just as a Shem Bechina, but you'll be responsible for Geneva Va'aveda as well, like a Shem Mesachar. But the Gemara asks on this, Amai, why should you be chayiv to pay as a shomer in such a case? Shmire bebailemi. Over here, when you're guarding it, you're guarding it, and while you're guarding it for someone else, that other person is also doing work for you. The basis of the Gemara's question here, the Gemara understands that we're talking about shutfim that own more than just one item together with shutfis. They own a few things together with shutfis, and the way this shutfis is divided that's the way the Gemara understands it right now, that one uses part of the things that they own at one possession, and the other person, the other partner, uses another part of it. So each one has part of what they own, and that they split it between themselves. So while one is guarding one chayfetz for himself and for his partner, the other partner is guarding another part of this thing for himself and also for his partner. So each one is doing work for the other. And the halacha of Shmira B'Bailim is that you potter. As we learned in the Gemara in Bava Basra, we learn out from the Baal of Imoy that if while a person lends you something, the person is working for you as well, you're not chayiv to pay. And this is not only by a shoyel, this is also by a shem esachar, by gneva v'aveda, that you're not chayiv to pay for the gneva v'aveda if the person that you're guarding it for is doing work for you. So over here, these partners are doing work for each other. Each one is guarding a part of what they own in partnership for one another. So why should they be responsible for any gneva v'aveda that happens? Rav Papa explains the case over here is that they're not splitting it, that at the same time each one is using part of what they own and guarding for each other. Rather, the case is the Amalei Shmarli Hayayim Vaniyesh Milchalamachar. The way they split up the partnership here is that one uses it one day completely, and on that day I'm the one that uses it and I'm responsible for the shmira of it, and then tomorrow, the next day, the other partner uses it and he uses it completely on his day. So there's never a day where one is working for the other at the same time when the other is guarding for him. It's one day and then the next day. In such a case, it's not Shmira B'Bailim, and therefore you're going to be chayiv, and you're chayiv as a Shem Esachar. This is the main chiddush that Shmuel is trying to say, that you're gaining by the fact that there's this deal here, that tomorrow he's going to guard it for you, and today you guard it for him, so therefore you call the Shem Esachar, and you're chayiv for Gneva V'Aveda. Tana Rabbanan, in the Braise, we learned, and this is connected back to the halacha that we said before about testifying and whether you negay behedus or not. Okay, this is a brisa that starts here, and this discussion and the pshat of this brisa is going to go all the way down to later on Daf Mem Dalet. It will start today, the Sinyan. Machaloi bayis, machaloi sadeh, you sell a house or you sell a field to someone, ein meid lo yalel. You can't testify for his behalf if someone comes now and is ma'arer and challenges the ownership and says that the person that sold it to you was a ganev, it doesn't belong to him. You can't come and testify for him that against that person. Why? Because you took responsibility that if it's going to get confiscated from the buyer, you're going to have to reimburse him. So you're testifying for something that is helping yourself. If you sell someone a cow or you sell someone a garment, so then you could testify on his behalf, for the buyer's behalf, if someone challenges and says, hey, this belongs to me, because over here you don't have any responsibility to reimburse him. In other words, the difference between the first case of the Braise and the second case of the Braise is not whether it's a piece of property or it's just a movable item. The difference is, did you take responsibility to reimburse the buyer if it gets confiscated from him? In the Reisha, you did not. You did take responsibility, so you can't testify. You're helping yourself. And in the Sefer, you did not take responsibility, so therefore there you can testify on his behalf because you don't have any gain out of that. But the Gemara asks, if that's the case, Maishna Reisha or Maishna Sefer. So what is really the difference between the Reisha and the Sefer? Why in the Reisha we talk about karka, a property, and the Sefer we talk about a para or a talis, which is metaltalin. If the difference is not really whether it's karka or metaltalin, the difference is whether you accepted responsibility if it gets confiscated or not. So why are we making this distinction between karka and metaltalin? Rav Sheshes explains that really in the Reisha there's a completely different shot of what it was talking about. In the Reisha, when it talks about karka, the case is as follows. Reuven shegadal soda mishimin. Reuven stole a property from Shimon. Umachra leLevi, and he went and sold it to Levi. Now v'asa Yehuda, now a fourth person, Yehuda comes along v'kama arer, and he's challenging and saying that this property belongs to him. So now in this case, what the Braisa is saying is, the Lezel Shimon, which is the original owner here, Reuven stole the property from Shimon and sells it to Levi. So Shimon now, which is the original owner, he's not allowed to come la'ased le'Levi to testify on behalf of Levi that the property belongs to Levi. Why not? Because the nichele, because when he testifies this, he's doing it for really his own benefit. Because he's gaining by this, because the hodra, because now if it's in the property of Levi and he's going to prove that Reuven stole it from him and sold it to Levi, so now Levi is going to have the responsibility to give it back to him. If Yehuda comes and takes it away, so now he's going to lose his property altogether. As long as it's in the possession of Levi, which is a buyer from a Gazlan. What happens if you buy a property from a Gazlan? So then the buyer has to return it to the Nigzal, in this case, Shimon. So therefore, Shimon is not allowed to testify against Yehuda to keep it in the possession of Levi, which is the buyer, because then Shimon, gains by the fact that now he can collect it from Levi and take it back for himself. That's why, and that's what the Braisa here was saying in the first case of the Mishnah, of this Braisa rather, that he can't testify. The Pshat in the Braisa now, according to what the Gemara is saying, is different than what we thought before. The words of the Braisa is, Ein meyed lo yaleha mipnei shachrayusei olav. So before we thought the pshat is you can't testify for someone that buys from you because you're gaining by it, that you would have to reimburse him if it gets confiscated from him. Now the Gemara is teaching different. That you can't testify on behalf of Levi, Shimon that is here, can't testify on behalf of Levi because it'll be Levi's responsibility as a buyer from a Gazlan. Reuven was a Gazlan from Shimon. So as a buyer from a Gazlan, it'll be Levi's responsibility to return this property to the Nigzal, to Shimon. So by you testifying that it should remain in the possession of Levi and Yehuda should not take it away from Levi, the Nigzal, which is Shimon, is gaining by this. That's what the Braisa means. But the Gemara asks on this, how does this work? V'kivin the asad le de Levihu. If Shimon comes along and testifies that this property belongs to Levi, hechi motzi mapik le minei. How is he later then coming and taking it away from him and saying that it belongs to him? That he's the Nigzal, that Reuven stole it from him and it belongs to him. He just testified that it belongs to Levi. So how could you say he's gaining by it, that now that it's in the possession of Levi, he'll take it away from Levi? Answers the Gemara, he didn't really testify it belongs to Levi. The Omar, rather, he came and testifies and says, Yedaina, I know, the high Ara, the law of the Yehudahi, that this property does not belong to Yehuda. He blocks Yehuda from taking it away from Levi. Whether he comes and, the Rashbam says, if Yehuda has Edom testifying on behalf of himself, that it belongs to him, so now Shimon, together with other Edom, comes and passels the Edom of Yehuda, or somehow he proves that Yehuda's claim is a lie, so he blocks Yehuda from taking it. He's not testifying that it belongs to Levi, but he blocks Yehuda. And then after he blocks Yehuda, it remains in the possession of Levi, which is a buyer from a Gazlan, and then he's able to take it back for himself. But the Gemara asks, still the question is, what does he gain by keeping it in the possession of Levi? With the same rights, with the same claim that he has to prove that he was the original owner, that he can then take it away from Levi, Lipkem Yehuda. He can take it away from Yehuda as well. Apparently the case here is that Shimon, the original owner, has Edom, that he is the original owner. If he has those Edom, what difference does it make to him if it remains by Levi, the buyer of the Gazlan, or it's going to be by Yehuda, somebody else that's confiscating it now? He has Edom that it belongs to him. So let him bring those Edom, whether it'll be in the possession of Levi, whether it'll be in the possession of Yehuda. So the Gemara gives two answers. The Gemara says either we could say the Omar, because Shimon, the original owner, says, Hasheni noyachli, Harishin Kashay Menet. This is an expression the Gemara says in another place, we had it before here. He says the second person is harder for me to deal with, and the first one, or rather here the expression is the second person is easier for me to deal with, the first person is harder for me to deal with. So over here as well, what he's saying is, true, I have Edom that will prove it's mine, and I could take it away either from Yehuda or from Levi. However, Yehuda is a tough guy. If Yehuda takes it, so I'll have a hard time getting it away from Yehuda. When it's still in Levi's possession, I have an easier time to taking it from him. So therefore he wants it to remain in Levi's possession. That's one pshat. Or another pshat we can say is Kagoin the Islay Sahadi Lamar Ve'islay Sahadi Lamar. The case here is that Shimon has Eidos that it belongs to him, and now this Yehuda that came to be Ma'ara that it belongs to him also has Eidos that it belongs to him. Now what happens in such a case? if both Shimon and Yehuda have edus that it belongs to each one of them, let's say Shimon has edus that it belongs to his father, Yehuda has edus that it belongs to his father, and this is what's called a trey utrey. When you have 2 against 2, we had it before already in the Gemara, when you have 2 against 2, what happens? You just keep the property where it is. Whoever is the one that's the muchzik in it is the one that it stays by. The property, wherever it is, it remains. So therefore, in such a case, Shimon does not want Yehuda to take away the property from Levi and then become the muchzik in the karka. What happens if Shimon becomes a muchzik in the karka? So then, now if Shimon is going to bring edus that it belongs to him, and Yehuda has edus that belongs to him, so then Yehuda is going to be the one that's going to stay by him. So therefore, Shimon wants to come and testify against Yehuda to block Yehuda from taking it. It remains by Levi, and now that it remains by Levi, Shimon comes and testifies that it belongs to him, and Shimon is able to take it away from Levi, because Levi for sure it doesn't belong to. And now once it's in Shimon's possession, now even if Yehuda will come and bring edus and there'll be a trey, then it'll stay by Shimon's possession. He'll be the muchzik. So in such a case, he gains by the fact that he takes it away from Levi and not from Yehuda, because he wants to be in a position to be the muchzik, that by the trey, the halach is that it stays by the muchzik. That's the case that it's talking about over here, he's a negeya be'edos. That's what the Braisa meant. This is whose pshat of it, Rav Sheshes. This is the pshat of Rav Sheshes, that he's a negeya be'edos to testify against Levi, against Yehuda rather, that is, in order to be able to take it away from Levi. Okay, this is in mamish in the middle of a sugi here. The Gemara will continue with Daf Mem Daled with more questions to explain. Now, based on this, what's the difference between the Reisha and the Seifa? That was really the original question of the Gemara here. The Gemara will explain in the continuation on Daf Mem Daled.